Hey everybody, welcome back to another news roundup. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. If you hear some fan in the background, that's just because my computer just updated. It's starting to go down actually, so and if I sound a little congested, that's just because I just got done cleaning the house and Kiki, our cat, she sheds everywhere, so after this video, I'm just gonna, just get all that squared away. But just an FYI, if you hear my voice just like kind of froggy or whatever, that's just what's up. But we got a lot of news to get through today, so I'm gonna just cut this short and let's just begin. So the very first thing that we're gonna talk about is, of course, the biggest news of the week. Happy Gilmore is getting a sequel. Because why not? Drew Barrymore, who has her own show, confirmed it on her talk show that Adam Sandler is currently working on a script and developing a sequel to Happy Gilmore. And following from that, Adam Sandler himself confirmed that he's working on the script and that it will be released through Netflix. No shock there, obviously. I mean, why? I remember Happy Gilmore vaguely. Like, I remember watching it with my dad. Not one of his worst comedies, like kind of a mid-range. There's some memorable lines here and there, specifically when he gets angry at the golf, during golf tournaments. But like I'm more interested in seeing films like Spaceman now, just because seeing him as a performer, as how he operates in those capacities, I want to see more of that. I mean, comedies will always be his comfort food, but I really want him to keep seeking serious roles because he's actually pretty good. Spaceman, Uncut Gems, Hustle, Punch Drunk Love. I mean, guys got some talent, so I want to see more from him, and I don't want to see stuff like this. It's a little convenient because Carl Weathers just passed recently. I hope that's not really what's persuading Adam Sandler to do the film because, to my knowledge, they never discussed a sequel prior to this. Like, there was no news about a sequel happening, so I don't know. I'm just wondering, like, I don't know. That's just might be getting all Alex Jones for a second, but it's just like, I hope that's not the reason why the sequel is happening, just because Carl Weathers passed away. It just seems a little gross. I don't know, but that's just throwing that out there. But yeah, I don't really care. I mean, it was an okay film, and I just don't really see the need for a sequel. But that's pretty much every sequel nowadays. So. Next bit of news we're going to discuss is revolving around Woody Allen, who you guys know as a very notable filmmaker, also with a lot of disturbing past, we'll say. I believe he's banned from the U.S. because of all the allegations and all the stuff that happened between him and his Mia Farrow. Which, by the way, if you guys have seen the documentary Allen versus Farrow, I think it was like an HBO Max thing. One of the most disgusting things I've seen in recent memory, like really just gross. I remember I watched only the pilot episode and I was really like distraught after watching it. So, yeah, it's really, really gross. And if any of those claims have validity to them, I know that some of them do. Sorry, I just hit the mic. I know that some do have some validity to them, like something to do with him, like with little girls and stuff like that. Like, it's very, very gross. So, I wouldn't support him personally, and it seems that Hollywood and generally speaking, people are following suit because he's potentially calling it quits, maybe retiring from directing, and it's not necessarily to do with creative interests, waning. It's a lot more to do with a lack of funding. that's making that decision. So basically, it's not that he himself is wanting to, but the industry is telling him that he'll eventually have to. So my response to that, I mean, good. I mean, nobody should be funding his films. Nobody should be supporting his projects. Guy from as far as I can tell is a creep. So yeah, I mean, art is art, and it'll stand on its own. But I mean, the artist itself, you don't have to continue. They don't have to continue working. So I've never seen any of his films. I'm curious about a few, Annie Hall specifically. But maybe I'll check out some of his work in the future. But yeah, I mean, he's just a weirdo. He's just a fucking creep. So yeah, so good to see that someone like that is, again, removing people like that from the industry is important. So yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. Now we're going to roll into some CinemaCon news. CinemaCon is going on right now, and, typically there's not much to discuss. It's just a bunch of investors and exhibitors just watching footage and reacting to it. Some people who claim to be, like, industry vets or whatever, like, basically just some influencers who go in and just see a bunch of shit and just comment on it. And there's my phone. Sorry about that. The first bit of news that we're going to discuss is an interesting thing from Paramount, primarily Paramount today. There will be a few things later on, but we're going to start with Paramount. First bit of news that we're going to discuss is regards to Ninja Turtles. Paramount Pictures is going to be adapting the Last Ronin storyline into a live-action R-rated feature. So yeah, we're getting the gritty turtles for some odd. We'll get there, but Walter Hamada, who is from DC, also with Conjuring, basically Warner Brothers proper, he is going to be producing it. Tyler Burton Smith, who wrote the upcoming Boy Kills World and 2019's Child's Play, is penning the script, and that's as much as we know so far. This is a really odd decision. Like, when we get further down the list of, like, news bits, you'll just see how weird things get when it comes to Paramount with their announcements. Because as much as, like, I mean, it's interesting by pitch, right? I mean, the idea of an R-rated turtle movie, sure, that sounds kind of neat, I guess. But why? Like, why do this, on a financial standpoint, why? Because studios usually stay within commercially benefiting ratings, or beneficial ratings. For, like, in the case of Turtles, obviously it'd be like PG-13, especially with mainstream appeal, so because this is targeted towards families and kids, this specific franchise. So that's the first thing, is, like, addressing the rating. It's like, why go for an R rating? You're just going to limit the source of such revenue when it comes to this franchise, which is with families and kids. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, why do a live action? The live action films, as far as I can tell, did not perform well, and they know that too, because they never went forward with another live action piece. So you think they'd, like, stray away from doing more in that domain. Plus, like you just had Mutant Mayhem come out. I wasn't big on it, but I mean, from what I was told, it did okay. So I'm just wondering where the motivation is, because, like, we're getting a sequel to Mutant Mayhem, as far as I know. So why is this existing? Like, why does this film exist? I'm wondering what it is. What is motivating them to move forward in this direction? Like, purely on a financial standpoint, like, where's the financial benefit to taking one of your franchises in both familiar, which in this case, not successful places, and an uncharted territory? Like, I'm just wondering what that what they see in that. Like I said, by pitch, interesting. But I just question why. Why are they doing this? So, and then following from that, another piece of news from Paramount is regards to Transformers. Now, we're getting a trailer for the upcoming Transformers 1 film on April 18th, my birthday actually. And there's some stuff that I heard about Transformers 1 that I'm not super happy with. They like showed off like some footage from the trailer and from the film in a 3D format, and that makes me very concerned as to what kind of animation we're gonna get. I seriously hope it's not the kind of animation that's built for 3D. Like, you know, when you watch film, certain films, like they have 3D in mind. I seriously hope that's not the case for this film. It sounds like that's what's gonna be, especially if they presented it in 3D. So yeah, so I'm a little concerned about that. But we'll talk about that next week when the trailer is released. But one thing that we do know about the franchise is that a crossover between G.I. Joe is officially happening. So if you guys saw the last film, Rise of the Beast, you guys know that they teased the whole G.I. Joe crossover thing. And, well, it is now officially in development. No word on who's directing, writing, or anything like that. Steven Spielberg is back to executive produce again. And as far as I can tell, this is essentially a follow-up to Rise of the Beast. Now, if you guys remember, Rise of the Beast did not perform well. So in a weird way, this is their way to continue forward without having to do a direct sequel to Rise of the Beast. This is pretty much like its own thing, but just carrying over the story of such thing. And similar to, again, Ninja Turtles, why do something that's proven to not be as profitable? Like, Rise of the Beast did not perform well, so why? You would think, again, very similar to my thoughts on Ninja Turtles. You have an animated feature that is there. Why not let that be the domain? You know, with Transformers, you have Transformers 1 coming out, and I would think that they would let that film do what it does, see how that film performs, and then perhaps abandon the live action series and go move forward with an animated series instead, depending on where the financial benefits are. You know, so I don't know where their logic is at. Like, based on what I'm hearing from CinemaCon, like it might be out of desperation because they're like throwing a bunch of shit, like of so many like odd announcements like this, the Ninja Turtles thing. There's a Smurfs movie on the way, like other stuff too, like another Avatar. I don't know, something like a SpongeBob movie too. Like it's like you know, just sort of a weird like collection of announcements. You know, nothing that seems like, oh, okay, that seems consistent. You know, the only thing that seemed rather consistent or seemed like okay was again the Transformers thing, Transformers 1. But everything else, it's like it seems like they're kind of desperate to catch like some kind of spark, you know, before they potentially get swallowed up by another company. Because remember, we have that whole merger thing glooming in the background. So, you know, so I don't know. I mean, it's kind of an odd announcements. You know, again, I like Transformers, so obviously, I mean, I'm curious, you know, enough to like see what Transformers 1 is, and I mean, to see what this crossover. I mean, I don't get the whole novelty for G.I. Joe and Transformers coinciding. It's like whatever, but I'm just questioning, financially speaking, where these films need to exist because they haven't proven, their franchises have not proven prior to these announcements to move forward in these sort of domains. I just question why. And I think it's just out of desperation, if you ask me. So, speaking of desperation, kind of, sorta, let's talk about Francis Ford Coppola. So, Francis Ford Coppola has a film coming out, sorry, called Megalopolis, and he's currently seeking distribution for the film. It's a self-funded film, obviously a passion project. He put in a lot of money towards this film. I read at least like 120 million, cut like part of it was like from his wine company, selling off part of his wine company. So he put a lot of his money into it. And he had a screening recently to like a handful of distributors on March 28th. And in the room there was people like Netflix, from Paramount, Disney, Universal. So a couple people in the room, as well as a couple of like celebrities and stuff like that, just to, I guess just for privilege, like just to watch something, whatever. Some cast and crew. Shia LaBeouf was present, so they had the screening, and after the screening, according to some sources, there was a notable silence after it played. And how I'm reading it, less enthusiasm, disappointment, confusion. Basically, it's not too good. Um, it's not looking too good. So there's that. And what follows from this is a couple of distributors walking away, specifically because Coppola is asking for a heavy price tag in marketing campaign, upwards like $100 million, which obviously turned off a lot of the distributors, specifically Universal and Focus Features, who walked away from the bidding. And initially, he was holding off on a festival run until he obtained a distributor, which is just backwards thinking, if you ask me, because it's like that's the whole point of why you go to a festival, you moron. Like that's why any filmmaker submits to a festival, is to gain distribution. So, but initially that was what was happening, and now he's now taking the film to Cannes to premiere on May 17th. So he's also desiring for an IMAX release, though as far as I know, the film wasn't shot for IMAX, but there's sequences that can be stretched to fit the IMAX format, apparently. I don't know if he's just blowing smoke up his ass or whatever, but like, yeah. But when you look into more of the reports, it's very clear that people weren't happy with what they were shown, namely addressing difficulties in understanding like basic story components, like who's the good guy and who isn't. But when you read into it, it sounds more like the film has like a gray area, but the audience is not thinking that deeply, which also plays a part to why no one wants to distribute it, since it lacks a mainstream appeal. Also, if there's specifically odd visual content, there's apparently something of a masturbation sequence. Okay, so he's having a lot of trouble just gaining distribution. It seems like it's going to be like that for a while. At least no big company is going to be picking it up. And my thoughts on that is, well, it appeared to be a guarantee in just what it is, right? You have an original, experimental, non-commercial piece, from what it sounds like, experimental, but pretty much a non-commercial piece with a hilarious asking price in marketing. Like, come on, you have $120 million in budget already, and now you're demanding almost $100 million for marketing campaign. Like, you're asking basically for a $220 million investment. That sort of pitch is the kind that this distribution will ditch at a moment's notice. So, of course, all these distributors are going, no, of course not. Especially because there's no mainstream appeal to it, aka it's not all spectacle, it's more about ideas and certain, agendas. So it's going to be extremely difficult unless Coppola gets off his high horse and asks for more realistic figures, or just forfeit a campaign. To be honest, I mean, just do your own campaign online. You're regulating the film. You put the money into it. It's self-funded, so you can just do your own little campaign online. If you were to ask me, but now him doing a festival run, which was really the only option that he had. I mean, he could have taken the film on tour if he wanted to, but that would come out of his pocket more, which would make it even worse for his investment, justifying the whole thing. Hopefully, he lowers his demands, and hopefully he'll find some opportunities in that market. But it's a hard sell to anybody because of what it is and what Coppola wants from it. Because anybody who agrees to these terms they're stupid. If you agree to his terms, what he's asking, you're dumb. Because it'll more likely be one of two things. Either one, Coppola asking more reasonable terms, or two, some moronic indie company is going to come looking to draw name value, agree to those terms, and maybe go bankrupt or something. I don't know. Um, but there's no way he's going to make his money back. Like, there's just no way. 120 million as your budget. Yeah, no, I like. There's going to be obviously film nuts who go and see this, but mainstream audiences, like general audiences, they're not going to care about this. They're just not. So maybe it'll spark some life at festivals, but if that screening is any indication, maybe not. So it's a bit of, I would sympathize, but ultimately it's just he put himself there with the financial side of things, with that budget, the sort of demands that he's asking for. He put himself there. So yeah. So maybe lower your demands, maybe not have such a high budget, and things might work out. But things how they are right now, yeah, I just it's not gonna go well. I it's gonna be a bomb. This is really gonna, like, someone put it best. This is like not the way you should end your career. That's what one distributor said, and he didn't say he's retiring, but this could put him in retirement. That's how I'll put it. So, but moving on from one director to the next, let's talk about Denis Villeneuve for a second. He has a couple of projects in the works with Legendary Pictures. And the first one, obviously, being Dune 3. They confirmed there's another Dune on the way. He's currently working on the script, working off of the book, Dune Messiah, looking to have that be his next project. So that's what he's working on currently, looking to round out the trilogy. And after that, he's going to be turning his focus on a new piece based on a book entitled Nuclear War, a Scenario, which basically follows a hypothetical to what would happen if a nuclear war began. So, I don't care for the next Dune. I got my fix with Dune Part 2. I'm good. I don't need another one. I'm a little bit worried about this new one because it sounds more like a corporate attempt to capitalize on Oppenheimer. And as time's going on, like, it just seems like the artistry of Denis Villeneuve, because he's like, excluding what he's done recently with the Dune series, he's a solid filmmaker, dude. Like, I love Prisoners, I love Arrival, Blade Runner being the one time where he played with big budgets, played with the studios, and his art and the artistic merit is like totally present. Later on, it just started to fade more and more and more because I think more of just, I don't know if it's corporate involvement or if it's just him just adopting to those sensibilities. I don't know, but adopting more to the mainstream type filmmaking sensibility. But curious. I'm always curious, but not so much in Dune, but in this new project that he's working on. So we'll see what happens, but I just smell like WB trying to capitalize on Oppenheimer. So that's what it sounds like to me, but I could be wrong. Okay, next thing we're going to get into is box office, specifically the worldwide box office in 2024. Gower Street Analytics, which is a firm for distribution and exhibition, or exhibition. Yeah, sorry. They did a film study which revealed their predictions on how things might go financially in 2024, which in their study they said that this year could potentially see a 3% decrease from the previous year to now, so from 2023 to 2024 at current exchange rates, and 5% just generally speaking. So, and that can add up to at least $1 billion loss. And the original study had it at $2 billion loss, but they've since raised it up slightly, but still behind compared to 2023. They also state that the first quarter of this year was ahead of expectations in the domestic market and the foreign market, which I agree. We said in the last video that this first quarter was not great, but it was a little surprising considering what did do well. So I agree with them that it's, like it's it's better than expected, but it's not like saying much, right? So, um, but again, it's just a prediction, right? I mean, they could be totally wrong. I'm predicting the summer has a few things in the mix that might do well, depending on just how social media takes to it. Um, but um, this would be consistent though, with the whole like what we've discussed before, how people are adopting to streaming, how that's becoming like how that whole adoption is being brought into the consumer interests, how that translates to going to the theater, which is making for less incentive, specific very specific projects getting more attention than others. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up being that way, just because of how people are generally responding to going to the theater. As you even see from this first quarter, like there's just a few things that people are attracted to, and not generally like a bunch of stuff. So again, just prediction, just a study. But ultimately, I wouldn't be surprised if it came to pass, given the current market and the general consumption of film nowadays. So, sorry for my phone going off. That's just got a lot of notifications going on right now. So, but moving on. Um, Following up from a story we had last week, Jonathan Majors has his sentence. We said last week that he was going to be sentenced, and now he has. And he's been sentenced to a year of counseling. He'll be taking domestic violence counseling for the next year, and that's it. That's it. No real shock. I mean, that's just typically what happens when actors go to trial. They just get tossed, like go to therapy or whatever. They don't usually do jail time. It happened with Ezra Miller, now Jonathan Majors. So no shock. It's just the way it is. And again, like we said before, in this specific trial, this specific incident, he, in my book, is innocent. But if anything else were to be brought up, or if he was charged with anything else outside of this incident, not so much. So yeah. So it is what it is. But yeah. All right. Now let's get into to a couple of trailers, because we had a few trailers drop this week. Some from CinemaCon, some just outside of that. And we'll start off with the big one, obviously. Joker Folie A Deux, I think that's how you call it. Just Joker 2, essentially. First trailer dropped, and, well, I'm a little torn on it. I'm a little mixed. I wasn't big on the original. I found it to be a bit problematic in its structure. If you just were to ask my opinion on the film, I thought it'd be ultimately okay. Nothing incredibly remarkable. Fine. Joaquin Phoenix was good in it, but you know, it's not his best. I mean, I see people flag it up as his best, but it's like I feel that they probably have only seen that film, So, but Todd Phillips is back to direct and write it, and it's looking to do more of a musical setting than previously. And I'm not opposed to musicals. I think it really depends on the temperature of its style, of that sort of sensibility, that may persuade me. I still feel, though, that's highly unnecessary, this film. And I think it's still going to be very difficult to make its money back, because just, Jesus Christ, the budget is so enormous. Um, but I like the music. I like the aesthetics. The musical aspects appear to be more of like a state of psychosis, meaning it's probably more than likely all in his head, like the original was to an extent. I'm not really big on that. I would have preferred a different approach if that's the idea at play, if everything seems to be in his head again. I don't know, it seems like we're just kind of just, using the similar beats, similar ideas again. Like the dead giveaway in the trailer is Lady Gaga, when she's doing the shooting yourself pose that Joaquin Phoenix did in the original. Um, Now, if you remember the original film, uh, Arthur Fleck manifests that idea in his head. Or, that the idea is like real, him actually doing that, but he projects the same sort of idea onto Zazie Beetz' character, who she herself ends up doing the same pose also. Um, and that's, that's those sort of ideas or those sort of visual cues were meant to give clues as to the whole psychology of Arthur Fleck and how everything really isn't the way it seems. Um, so now it appears they're doing the same thing with Lady Gaga. So, like, it's more than likely she's not actually there for large portions, and that's just him projecting onto another person. That's just my guess anyway, but I could be wrong. Um, so I'm still on the offense about it. Um, I'm a little more optimistic based on just the trailer. I wasn't big on the original either, so that's why I'm not really that like crazy interested in it, but I'm interested enough to see how it develops, and I mean, I more than likely will go out and see it, but I don't know. I was turned off by the proposal of a musical, but now kind of sitting with the idea that it's more of a psychological thing. That it's kind of a 50-50, because Todd Phillips mentioned this at CinemaCon about like, oh, the musical numbers are meant to be that of a portrait of his psychosis or whatever. Like, that's interesting, but I also feel that as though that might work against it. So I don't know. We'll see how it develops, but so far, curious. That's how I'll put it. So, all right. Next trailer we're going to discuss is Maxxxine. This is the third of a strange trilogy of films that have developed over time. First of the films being X, which if you watched any of my videos, you actually would know that I almost auditioned for without knowing. It was like on Backstage. They had like an audition form, and that was like when I was in the acting phase. And when the trailer for X came out, I was like, I was really weirded out because it was I was getting a wave of like familiarity from it, even though I hadn't seen the trailer before. I was like, why does this seem so familiar? And then it hit me that I was like, oh shit, this is that fucking audition that I passed up on. Or that like sheet that I saw, because the title was like sounded so familiar to me, and the premise of what it was about like these kids filming a porno, like that's what really like just made me go, I don't know if I want to audition for that. Um, but but once again, being written and directed by T. West, who did the original X as well as Pearl, which I did see and liked enough. I thought Mia Goth was excellent in it, though. I thought she was just really, really great in that movie. This is the final of that trilogy, and it has Mia Goth back once again. Kevin Bacon is joining this time. Michelle Monaghan, Billy Collins. So a couple of people here and there are attached to it. And I don't know. Kind of to be honest. I mean, I might check it out for Mia Goth because I really liked her in Pearl. Maybe, but more than likely we'll probably skip out on it. It seems oddly inspired by Tarantino on an aesthetic level. Maybe it's just me. Like, it kind of echoes that of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I don't know. I kind of get that feeling by aesthetic. I never saw X, so I don't know how that film went. I heard good things about it, but like I said, I liked Pearl enough, but it doesn't seem like there's much to this one. It feels more or less like just a lengthy version of her inevitably getting caught. Because the whole thing is like she never gets caught, right? Like she's just this the secret killer, you know, like she's not so public with her kills. You know, she's very like uh like seclusive, I guess. I don't know what the word is, but you guys know what I'm saying. It's like no one knows, you know, no one's in the know. But there's apparently like a mystery killer in this now, and like guys, don't make her the mystery killer, please. I know one thing about X is that the twist with Mia Goth, right? The fact that she is the killer, right? Like, don't don't do that. You already did that with X. Please don't do it again. That would just please. But like, I just don't see a motivation just to watch this one, just because at this point it's either she gets caught or she's dead, right? Like that's what's going to happen, right? Because they're not going to continue with her not getting caught, because that would not make sense, right? That'd just be tacking things on. So I don't know. Not really that curious. I mean, the Mia Goth's the only thing really, but like more than likely we'll skip out on it. So next trailer is a film called Fly Me to the Moon. No, it is not a Frank Sinatra thing. Um, that was Frank Sinatra, right? Fly Me to the Moon. Yeah, I believe it was Fly Me to the Moon. This is a Greg Berlanti film, directed by Greg Berlanti, the guy who worked on the CWDC stuff for a while, then made his leap to directing, or he was a director, I think, prior to this, but wasn't any noteworthy director. Came out, though, a few years ago with Love, Simon, which I wasn't crazy about. I was really not big on it. I know a lot of people liked it, but I just was not crazy on it. Um, this stars Channing Tatum, Scarlett Johansson, and Woody Harrelson, and it's like basically a conspiracy theory film, and it's trying to be like that dry sort of humor, I guess, or more like just in the moment sort of humor. But it's more literal, like for me, it's like literally dry. You know, it's very stale, very just like acting wise, little to be desired for me. Like Scarlett Johansson, especially seemed to not really care. You know, um, but personally, I just could care less. Honestly, I like considering the fact that the premise is based on a conspiracy theory of the moon landing. Like basically motherfuckers who are just bored, stupid, or just want attention and just say stupid shit that the moon landing didn't happen or aliens exist. Like just those motherfuckers, people with the tinfoil hats, you know. Um, like I could care less. I really could care less. So yeah. So moving on from that, last thing that we're gonna discuss is a trailer called "In a Violent Nature." Now, this is being directed by a guy named Chris Nash. I don't know if it's his feature debut. I didn't look into it, but um, this this is like an example of using a gimmick as the main source of your storytelling, and it's really relying upon this idea of tracking, because what it basically is just a slasher, but with an attempt for artistry. Because what the whole gimmick is that we're just tracking the killer as he basically moves through the forest in search of like his next kills or his next victims. Like it feels like it's gonna be one of those real slow burns. Um, some people were like equating it to like Gus Van Sant, like his sensibilities. Um, I mean, if his sensibilities match that of like Jerry, then maybe I'll be interested. Um, but some people are also saying Bellatar, which I'm actually not familiar with Bellatar, so I can't say. But I'm familiar with Gus Van Sant, and if it's anything like Jerry, maybe, but I doubt that's gonna be the case. Um, because I don't see the appeal really for this. Like it's just watching a dude's backside. It appears to be for like a large amount of time. Like if you think that that's like if you think that's inventive, right? If you think that that's interesting, this might be up your alley. I just see a gimmick. Like I just see a gimmick being used in a typical slasher, basically. So, like I said, it's an attempt to give artistry to a slasher. and I really don't think those things should coexist, you know? So, but yeah, so I don't really care. I mean, yeah, not really for me. So, but that is it for this week, guys. We had a ton of news, a ton of stuff to talk about. We'll have a few things for next week. Like I said, we have the Transformers trailer coming out next week, so we'll definitely discuss that then when it comes out. And yeah, so that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know all your thoughts on all these news topics or anything specific in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video.